gathered together. We thank you so much for your comfort. We thank you that you listen to us. We thank you that you act on our needs according to our benefits and not necessarily our desires. Master, we ask you that you'll open our eyes, open our ears, and open our hearts so we can see, hear, and understand what your word has to tell us. And we thank you for it all. In the name of Yeshua, amen. All right. So, Psalm, this is chapter 143, Tehillah. And it starts off in verse 1, a psalm of David. A psalm of David. And, you know, we read that and we say, okay, it's a psalm of David. Mm-hmm. There's so much in just a psalm of David for us to understand. This is an inspired message being given to the beloved of Elohim. Okay? We are the beloved. David means his beloved. Mm-hmm. But the word psalm is this first Hebrew word that we see here, mizamor, which means to praise, but it comes from the root zamar, which also means to praise, but a similar root. It's very interesting that the similar roots in zamar means to prune. If we have any gardeners in here, then we know that we prune off those little bitty branches that grow up between the other branches. We prune those off so that our flowers will get all the nutrients. Okay? So this means to prune. So basically it's how do we prune the beloved of Elohim? What is being done to prune us so that we flourish completely? And we're going to find some answers within these Psalms. And then the next two words were really interesting. It says Yahweh here. So Yahweh here, I'm talking to him and I'm saying, I want you to hear what I have to say. But if we consider that Yahweh, like we've talked about, is a name that means existence, but comes from roots that mean everything there is, everything there was, everything there will be, today, yesterday, and tomorrow, then we take a look at this word here, the root in this, well, actually it's not even the root, the actual word used in this word for here is Shema. Mm-hmm. So we talk about us saying the Shema, that we promise to perceive and discern, understand, obey, apply, and be content in what the word has to tell us. But now I'm asking Yahweh to Shema. I'm saying in everything that there is, everything there was, everything there will be today, yesterday, and tomorrow, perceive my needs, discern my needs, then act to help me with the things in my life. So it's so much more than simply here. I'm actually asking the most powerful entity in existence and beyond that has control over every aspect of my life at every time of my life to listen to me, to perceive what I need, to discern what I need from what I don't need, to figure out what needs to be pruned away and what doesn't need to be pruned away so that I bear fruit. And then it says, my prayer. Now, this word for prayer is ana, that it means simply exactly what it means. It's what I'm asking, what I'm talking to you about. Mm-hmm. But then it says, give ear to my supplications. The word for give ear is azan, which means, basically, it means broaden the ear. When we consider one of those spy movies where they have that big horn thing that they put up and they can listen to people from, all the way across the street and listen to what they say. What we're saying is, listen to the smallest details of what I'm asking. To my supplications. Now the word for supplications is a word that we have to understand because it helps us to understand what we should be praying. And the word for supplications is tachanun. Tachanun, although it means prayer, means a sincere prayer. A prayer that is honest. It comes from a root, chanan, that means undeserved favor, consideration, and it literally means to stoop down in loving kindness. So what am I asking? That he listens to me, but then that he reach down to help me. So we get a whole lot more other than just a Psalm of David and listen to what I'm asking. And then, in your faithfulness, answer me, and in your righteousness. The word for faithfulness is emunah. Emunah comes from the roots emun. When we ask for something, we say amen. Amen is an acronym for Elohim Malech Ne'emah. So what it is Emah is trustworthy. What we're saying is, I'm putting faith in Elohim, my trustworthy King. So when we pray, when we acknowledge, and so let it be, we're putting faith. What does this mean as far as our prayer goes? Our prayers usually go like this. Oh, Master, I love you, and thank you, and praise you, and all this. And I really need this, and this, but if it doesn't happen, it's your will. Our prayers shouldn't be this way. We start off in praise, okay? A Psalm of David. Yeshua said, when you start to pray, Our Father, who is in heaven, set apart, distinct, one of a kind is your name. Okay? We start off in praise, but then we go in and say, listen to what I'm asking. This is what I'm asking. Listen intently to what I'm asking. But then we say, amen, as in to say, I've laid this in front of you. I thank you for it in advance, because as I have asked you, so it will be, and I am trusting you to make it so. Now what I need may not come forth immediately, may not come forth till the next year. Why? Because I've asked him to Shema. I've asked him to perceive it. I've asked him to understand it. I've asked him to basically another word for prayer here that's used is tefillah, which comes from a root word, hallel. And hallel we've talked about, because this word means to judge, to understand the components of it before I intercede, before I intervene, before I do anything. So I'm asking my Elohim to examine thoroughly what I'm asking him for, and then to deliver. I'm not begging him, oh please, oh please, oh please. I'm saying, this is what I need. Thank you for it. And then trusting for him to deliver what I need. Because what I think I need and what he sees that I need are two different things. So those are some ideas that we get in that first verse. Now, Matthew 6:10, go to Matthew 6:10 right quick here. But Matthew 6:10, Yeshua is teaching about prayer. Then he says, your kingdom come, your will be done, as in heaven, also on the earth. As in heaven, also on the earth. King Jimmy and all our others, on earth as it is in heaven. Heaven is always going to come before earth. The Aramaic says, as in heaven, so also be on earth. And we look into this, verse 2 says, and enter not into judgment with your servant, for in your sight shall no one living be justified. The things in heaven have to equal the things that we produce on earth, or the things on earth have to produce the things, equal the things that are produced in heaven. Basically what this word, do not enter into judgment, is saying is do not pronounce a verdict. Do not pronounce a verdict. Why would I say do not pronounce a verdict? In our prayers, we also make teshuvah, saying, I'm truly sorry. In the name of Yeshua, I have transgressed. I lay it out, and then I say, don't pronounce a verdict, but rather wash me clean. In your sight shall no one living be justified. But the word for sight is actually something that says in your presence. So how do we know how to apply the will of the reign of Yehovah Elohim to our existence? If we say, as in heaven, so let it be on earth, how do we know how to apply the rules that are bound in heaven to our lives here on the earth? How do we know? How do we know what's right and wrong? It's a question.
Oh.
Throwing it out.
We justify it with commands, his laws and commands.
Yeah,
If
okay.
we're receiving it. And if we're following his laws and commands, then we can justify what we're doing. If it doesn't fall short of that, then
Okay, and we find his laws and commands within the Torah, within his inscription. Okay, now we say the Torah is the first 5 books of Moses specifically, but his Torah, his instruction, we have commentaries as to what his instruction means found in the writings and in the prophets, and we have commentaries on his instructions and more information as to how to follow his instructions found within the Gospels, and then the epistles support what the Gospels are saying. So if we take the epistles and we twist them all out of shape and bend them all into things that they don't really say, then we're actually not meeting what the Torah requires us to meet. We're actually breaking the commandment that's found in Devarim 13:1 in Torah, 12:32 in King Jimmy and everybody else. 12:32 doesn't exist in Torah. That says, these are my commandments. Obey them. Don't change them. Don't add to them. Don't take away. So this second verse is, we're asking, don't pass judgment on me just yet. I'll be in your presence, and when I'm in your presence, review where I am. But give me a chance to build a relationship with you. Give me a chance to follow your word. Give me a chance to follow your Torah, to live according to your word and grow in you. So that when I am in your presence, your verdict will be a just verdict. Now, verse 3 says, for the enemy has persecuted my soul. He has crushed my life down to the ground. He has made me to dwell in darkness as those have been long dead. Well, not a lot of us have enemies that are chasing us like these enemies were chasing David. But when we consider enemy as oyeb, oyeb comes from a root that actually means problems, issues, concerns. It's not necessarily a physical person that's shooting arrows at me, but we run into problems, we run into issues, we run into concerns that it feels like they're shooting arrows at us. And these enemies persecute. The word here is radaf. That means to be behind, on the backside. To be behind and on the backside. So if we are considering that we have enemies and they're pursuing us, are we having faith in our Elohim to protect us, or are we considering the backside of something? We said that there's 2 sides to Shin. Do we allow those enemies to put us on the wrong side of Shin, to put us on the backside of Shin where we can only perceive things from our own point of view? Because if we perceive things from Elohim's point of view, then we have to do something very important. And that important thing is that we need to stop and take a moment to say, do I believe in Elohim? Do I believe in Elohim? We have a story in Numbers, in Bamidbar, where the children of Israel, this is Bamidbar 20, it starts at verse 7 and goes through 13 or something like that, 13. But Yahweh has told Moses, listen, go down and speak to this rock, and it'll bring forth water for the children of Israel who are driving you crazy with their complaining about not having water to drink. Moses says, okay, takes the staff, goes down there, and these people are just griping and moaning and complaining, and he's had enough. And he makes this comment. He says, and he said to them, hear now, you rebels, shall we bring forth water to you out of this rock? And Moses lifted up his hand and smote the rock with his rod twice. Much water came out, and the congregation and their animals did drink. But then, listen to what Yahweh said to Moses and Aaron. Because you did not believe in me, to trust me before the eyes of the nation. How many times do we feel like we're dry? Got all these problems bouncing off the inside of our heads. We have problems. We have maybe one too many bills coming in. We have not enough money in the bank to cover the one too many bills. Do we ever stop and say, Yahweh Elohim, this is what I have. This is my situation. We talked about hitbodedut, locking myself up, and like I'm having a conversation with y'all right now, have a conversation with Elohim. Lay it all out, and then be quiet. Let him direct. Or do we just go straight to guns and say, well, this is what I've got to do, and this is what I've got to do, and this is what I've got to do, and I'm going to take this rod, and I'm going to smack this rock about 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 or 15 times, not just 2 times, to get that water to come out of the rock. Because then Yahweh Elohim says, because you did not believe in me, to trust me before, and it literally says the children of Israel, to trust me because you're established in me. You're supposed to be established in the fact that I prevail in your life, but you don't trust me. You're sitting here freaking out, wigging out, worrying about your problems. Why are you not trusting me? And then it goes, we take this back to the first thing, the Psalm of David. Now hear my prayer, give ear to my supplication. In your faithfulness, answer me. If I believe in Elohim, then I must believe that he's faithful and trustworthy to act on my behalf if I am his beloved. Okay? So, verse 3. The word for crushes means broken to pieces, shattered. We talked about being a shattered vessel. Okay? My life down to the ground. The ground is here. Excuse me. What am I trying to say here? That in Eretz, okay, shattered me down to the ground. That's what I was trying to think of. And then it says, has made me to dwell in darkness as those that have been long dead. If I take it upon myself to strike the rock and not to trust in Elohim, where am I? If I look at this verse, that it's shattered, it's laid waste, it's void, I dwell in darkness, what am I thinking about here? I go all the way back to the beginning, where he says, and the earth was formless and void, and darkness was on the face of the water. And the spirit of Elohim hovered over the top. The word for hovered in this case is actually means grieved. He grieves. We choose to make ourselves Elohim. Elohim grieves. In Bereshis 1:2, the verse here for formless and void is tohu vavohu. Tohu means formless, confused, empty. The Proto-Hebrew of tohu means a feeling of